right, and we are back today talking about this elite junior day that the Oklahoma Sooners are exiting, heading into the spring break weekend, potentially bringing some more recruits on campus, but we can talk about that at a later date. I'm joined today by Jay with Unfair Sports. Jay, how are you doing?
What's going on, everybody? Making my valiant return as usual.
Right. I'm not really feeling this weather right now. It's too cold. I'm like,
Yeah,
we
and
just
I
came
know
off
what want to
70.
do.
I'm like, we just came off 70, almost damn near 80 degrees. And yeah, I'm just not feeling the weather. But I want to talk about this Elite Junior Day. I want to get your thoughts. I don't think we've had a chance to talk about it. I think we've just texted back and forth. I don't think we've been on since they've had all these elite recruits on here, since Parker dropped his balls on Williams Winery. I probably shouldn't say it like that. That sounds a little bad, but
Yeah, that sounds a little bit all over the place, my man. We probably should keep that one a little bit quieter. But yeah, no, that was yeah.
yeah, it's listen, they Oklahoma, they impressed me this weekend, getting five-star defensive lineman Edric Houston on campus, and really I think making an impact in that recruitment, maybe where you weren't in it before. A kid that's teammates with KJ Bolden out of Beaufort, Georgia. So I think OU made a lot of headway with a lot of big-time recruits, and I think you're going to see that play a factor at the end of it. I think when you look back at this class, I think this junior day is going to be one that we look at and say it was an impact day for the Oklahoma Sooners. So, what was your thoughts on junior day, and do you think we're going to get any commitments out of it?
I believe so. I mean, like you may mention, we've got some crystal balls that came through afterwards with Zay Robinson, running back from Midwest City, Carl Albert. I love that big old back. Williams, Inwinary, looks like that one's got a crystal ball that we potentially will be landing him as well. So I think that we'll probably start hearing and seeing more. We saw Coach Emmett Jones drop some chips on his Twitter account. So, of course, that's a hint that somebody's going to commit, or if they have already verbally committed and they're waiting to do a commitment or something. So, we've got a lot of stuff I know brewing. For a lot of the Sooner fans, I know the stress is, when are we going to actually get a commitment? When is the first player going to come and sign on the line, which is dotted? Well, not really sign, but say that they're going to sign on the line. Um, so for me, I'm just stoked that we were able to bring in that many elite players. The Edric Houston one was probably the bigger one for me out of the five-star defensive lineman out of Georgia. I saw an article not too long about him and how he was Oklahoma's moved up the chains on him. They moved up the chart. And we might be in a fight at the top three now because of how impressed he was coming to campus, how impressed he was with the school and what they have to offer. We're starting to show that we're ready to really compete with the big dogs. And so because of that, I think this was a good weekend. I was really excited about what the results were.
Yeah, and I think one of the things with Edric Houston, and you've heard about it kind of floating around. You even saw him talk about it on Twitter, but the time that he really got to spend with the staff, and this is kind of a common theme that you're hearing, it's intentionality, right? These aren't the biggest junior days like you're going to see with Texas and a lot of these other programs. They're bringing on a small amount of people and then spending a lot of time with them, deep diving into this film and showing them, hey, here's how we want to use you in the defense. Now, the Edric Houston one, I would like to get a little more understanding of how they said that they were going to use him, because he took a picture with Ted Roof. And what position does Ted Roof coach?
I mean, that's a good point.
So do they see
he's the D
Edric Houston
lineman.
as more of a cheetah role where he's playing the linebacker defensive end? Or because even with Williams Winery, he even said they talked about maybe putting him into drop back coverage. So what does that mean? Are they going to potentially play a little bit of that cheetah? Is that what they see for these guys? Are they trying to broadcast a vision onto these kids that maybe they're not getting somewhere else, and that's what's putting Oklahoma in the lead? I don't know. I would love to kind of hear a little bit more about that and figure that out, because when I saw that picture with Ted Roof, I thought that one was really interesting.
Yeah, no, and I did as well. And I'm wondering if he wants to, I guess, slim up and go more to that role. I mean, that is a possibility. Because how big is he? Let me pull up
Six-three, two hundred
his.
and 55 pounds. So
So
he's,
he's
I,
six
in
three,
my
two
opinion,
fifty
perfect
five.
linebacker.
What's his yeah? Well, he's NFL linebacker right now, size wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right that he's there, and he also competes in track, and he's a wrestler. Played tight end as a freshman, so he can scoop. I haven't watched all of his film yet, and that's actually on my agenda. The question's gonna be, I guess the question we have to ask ourselves is, where would he be most effective?
Yeah, I think because I mean that's the thing with Winery and Edric Houston. They're both listed as defensive line. They're not listed as edge prospects. Even though, I mean, when you get that elite of a kid, I mean, you can easily move them up and down the line wherever you want. I do like what Hank said here. They were dropping Ethan Downs into coverage as last season as well. So yeah, we
That's a
did
fair
get to
point.
see a little bit of that. And again, it might be different than what a lot of the other schools. And the other thing is, are a lot of these schools really sitting down and spending several hours in the film room with these recruits? Spending that precious time, deep diving into that film and how they're going to be used. I think that's another question. When a lot of these kids go on visits to Clemson or Georgia or wherever else they look at going. I think Edric Houston's got visits to LSU, Alabama, Texas coming up. So he's got some other big ones.
Yeah, he's got a lot of big visits coming up. I'm like he's got his officials with Clemson, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, and Texas. And first week of April, he's got spring break. So I'm thinking he's probably going to potentially work on an official and come back, especially since it looks like the relationship was good. I am very much curious to how they want to use him. And kind of like Hank mentioned, they did drop Downs back in coverage a few times, and so I could totally see them mixing that up and having the linebacker blitz or something. Just whatever complex defensive blitz packages they want to put in will be helpful in making the defense very successful if they can keep the opposition on their toes. So the good thing
Yeah.
is a lot of those defensive linemen are interchangeable roughly in their position. Like Stoney is probably your definitely D tackle. He's not going to go anywhere. But Williams and Winery, I think he can play D line or edge. He can go back and forth. And depending on how fast he is, I mean, he may be able to drop into coverage, but I'm curious to what he looks like in coverage also. But looking at Zadavian Sims, I think he can play both, and it's just going to depend on the workout program, and going from there. So yeah.
So Jeffrey Lamb asks a good question here, and this is something that I have posed on a couple of videos. How many 5-stars do you think we get signed for 2024? Top 3 recruiting class this year: Winery, Stone, Brown, a 5-star kicker, and a 5-star long snapper. I honestly, I don't know about a 5-star kicker and a 5-star long snapper because I mean I'm assuming they're not graded by 247 and on 3, just to name a few. But I think Oklahoma has a chance to realistically land. I think a good chance at 3 5-stars. I think potentially they could go as high as 5 or 6, if I'm being realistic here, because there
Yeah,
were a lot of good things that came out of this weekend and other weekends that leads you to believe Oklahoma's in the driver's seat for some of these 5-stars.
yeah, no, looking at the from this Elite Junior Day, this one and the one at the end of what was that January, some of those players there will probably move into the 5-star status. I think Nigel Smith's going to end up being a 5-star across the board, potentially a plus, and I think he is locked in on coming to Oklahoma down the line. Him, Stoney. We'll have a lot of 5-stars on the defensive line. And now, of course, as Sooner fans, that's the one thing we've all missed and wished we've had for so long. It looks like that's a big time possibility. So definitely a reason to get excited about.
Yeah. Sammy Brown is interesting to me because I can't remember the last time Oklahoma landed a 5-star linebacker. It's been
Man.
it's been a while, and I think Sammy Brown's a game changer at that position. And then if you go out there, you land David Stone, you land Williams Winery, like you said, Nigel Smith. I believe he'll be a 5-star as well. He's got the 5-star talent.
Yeah.
I just think it just comes down to him having a stellar senior season, which I think he'll have because he's just, I mean, if he builds off what he has already and replicates those same stats, he'll be a 5-star. That's 3 right there. So then you've got Sammy Brown, Kobe Black, KJ Bolden. I think a lot of people forget about KJ Bolden. He's been on campus. He's liked his visits. He's actually one of the guys that pushed Edric Houston to come out here. You also, like I said, had Edric Houston here, and I'm sure the staff will try to have other 5-stars on campus. You've heard rumblings of Micah Hudson potentially trying to make it back out here. He's taken 4 visits to Texas Tech while Emmett Jones was the wide receivers coach out there. And then he's taken 2 visits to Oklahoma while Jeff Lebby's been the offensive coordinator. So I would feel like Oklahoma has a pretty good opportunity to try to land Micah Hudson if they really, I think, just went balls to the wall for that kid. But, you know, I think I don't realistically see Oklahoma getting out of this 2024 cycle with less than 3 5-stars, because I think Stone and Nigel Smith are locks at this point.
Yeah, I'm feeling that exact same way. I would love for us to get 5. I'm not gonna sunshine pump and say that, oh, we're definitely gonna. It's so fluid. You never know. It just depends on the player and what their goals are and what they're looking at. And it's still early in recruiting, so I'm gonna go with 3. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna say 3. Once they get the full 32 named at the end of the day, I'm going to say we'll have at least 3, but I can see more. I hope we get Sims too. I'm excited about us beefing up that D line and it just wrecking havoc.
Well, yeah, and Hank mentioned it here. I think you get 4 on the line alone. So this is actually interesting because we talked about Nigel Smith potentially being a 5-star. There's actually an edge rusher that a lot of people are forgetting about that Oklahoma, I think, is in a really good position for, and that's Zena Yumi Owazulu. Good friends with Michael Hawkins. So if Michael Hawkins commits here, I think OU could be a front runner to land Zena. And Zena is, again, another guy like Nigel, where he's on the outside looking in at 5-star territory. So let's say you land Michael Hawkins and Devon Mitchell.
That's a 5-star. Devon's a 5-star right now.
Well, he's a 5-star in 2025.
Class.
I don't know if that'll transfer to 2024 because Desmond Ricks was a 5-star in 2024, and when he reclassified to 2023, they took his 5-star status away, which I don't know how they judged that, but yeah. So I'm not going to count on Devon Mitchell being a 5-star yet until I actually see it. But I'm assuming if you land both of those guys, you'd be in really good position to land Zena, who could be another 5-star. So if Oklahoma lands 4 5-star defensive linemen in this class, the college football world better get ready for just some straight savage Oklahoma fans, because Oklahoma fans are going to be feeling really high at that point.
Yeah, no, yeah, stoked. We're going to be losing our cotton picking minds for real on that one. And so I'm hoping that we're gonna just go bananas if we are land, because that'll be a top 2 class. That's 1 or 2. That's competing with Georgia and Bama for 1 or 2 easily if we were to land that many 5-stars. Because I think we've got a large amount of 4-stars that we're definitely going to pull, and we're going to have a bunch of fringe 4-stars that we should land this year. I mean, now as recruiting starting to heat up, man, I'm ready to see what the March 25th looks like. Especially, and this coming weekend, which we'll talk about later, but I'm really excited to see what it looks like March 25th and then going into the summer.
Yeah, and I think I did some class calculations the other day, looking at a lot of these 5-stars, saying, hey, who could the Oklahoma Sooners go out there and get? I think I came out with the composite score of about 310 as the class sits right now, with just 25 commits. So, I mean, they're probably going to take more than 25 guys. I would assume they're probably going to have more than 25 scholarship spots that they're going to need to fill. I mean, the cornerback and the safety room is about to get depleted this offseason. You're going to have Woody Washington, Key Lawrence, Billy Bowman gone. If Kendall Dolby has a really good season, maybe he potentially tries his luck there. I think you're going to lose a couple other people. Linebacker position, I think you're safe unless Danny Stutzman just goes out there and has a butt kiss type of season. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to this class, I mean, Oklahoma could definitely try to scratch the surface at number 1, which could potentially throw Clemson out. I thought Clemson would be a top 3 class. If OU steals Sammy Brown and KJ Bolden from Clemson, uh, that could throw Clemson's plans down the drain.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I don't I can see Venable starting to land some more elite linebackers in the future classes. I mean, Jaron Canick was probably his best, sneak player that we got our hands on. I'm ready to see Eric McCarty. We'll see him not this coming season, but the season after, once he fully recovers. He's going to be, I'm not sure where he's going to play, but I know he's going to be absurdly talented because he's fast and he's really strong and he can just about do it all. I can see BV snatching up a linebacker out there that we're going to be like, oh, where'd that come from?
Yeah, because we talked about Drew Woodaz, who I've had here on the podcast, and I think it's coming down between Oklahoma and Clemson. Venables has a relationship there. 3-star kid. He's fast. And when Brent Venables is specifically going after somebody on the recruiting trail, the kid's got some talent. But Hank here says, Oklahoma brought in a big class of DBs here in 2022. That's true, but you're losing tremendous production this year. Again, Billy Bowman, Woody Washington, Key Lawrence. Just in those 3 guys alone, that's 3 starters. So, yeah, you brought in a deep class, but you would want to see Oklahoma maybe bring in another 5-star, either corner or safety next year to try to help bring some more stardom to that room a little bit, to try to drive that competition with some of these new guys so they don't feel like it's just an easy given spot to them.
Mm-hmm.
You want that freshman to come in there, maybe challenge. Jeffrey asks, when do you think the first commit is going to happen? So I think it's going to happen this month. I think we could see something happen within the next week or two. I think your probably 2 best bets are Michael Hawkins and KJ Daniels. I think it's down between those 2 in terms of a commit.
I'm wondering if KJ Daniels is going to end up being the first one. The Emmett Jones tweet, it was like right after he tweeted the picture with him and KJ Daniels, and it kind of made me feel like, that feels like that wasn't a coincidence. So he may end up being the first, but I do think Michael Hawkins will be this month. And I'm actually curious when his little brother is going to commit because he's in next year's class, right, Malik?
Yeah.
Is he next year or 26? I couldn't remember.
He's next year, but my goodness, it's like, why hasn't Eli Bowen committed yet? Since Peyton Bowen's in this class, like we thought that was going to be a quick commitment. I'm sure the staff has gotten some silent commitments.
No,
talked about.
No doubt.
Here's your boy right here. Talk about the 3-star kid out of Carl Albert, Xavier Robinson.
So he hit me up, and I don't think I'm talking out of turn with this, but when I did my video on it, a few people saw it. I gave my comparison with him with Derrick Henry, and I said that specifically because of the size and his ability to pick up steam like a big old train. And I had a video of him tossing a dude just like Derrick Henry tossed Josh Norman in the NFL. And he grabbed the dude and he launched him. And when I did the editing, for some reason, Final Cut Pro, somehow that video did not show up in there. So I went back to watch it and I was like, let me find this. I'm going to make a short just out of that. And sure enough, it wasn't there. I'm like, crap. So everybody's looking at me crazy like, dog, you crazy for this thought because just because the footage you showed, I don't see this Derrick Henry piece. So I made a short out of it and some people were like, oh, I see what you mean. but his ability to run. And so after that, he hit me up, of course, thank you for the support or whatnot. And he was like, my 40 that I've run is 4.5. And so my video, I was saying, he may struggle with getting to 4.5 status or sub 4.5 status because of his size. It's a challenge. I mean, Derrick Henry ran a 4.54, but when you see him break down the speed, his 100's a lot faster than what his 40 would line up to be. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those running backs that once they go downhill and they pick up steam, they're just flying. And he's built just like that. I mean, he said 6'2", 225. Dude looks like he's about 6'3", 240. Seeing him just size-wise, he looks huge and he's strong. He's very strong. So I personally think that he will. I think he's going to move into 4-star status. He ran for 2,500 yards and 39 touchdowns last year. 2,500 rushing yards. 2,500 rushing yards at the high school level.
Oklahoma's got
Absurd.
some really good running backs coming out this year and next year.
Right. And so it's just the absurdity behind that is like, okay, this dude is really a gem that for some reason nobody's looking at. And I don't know what it is. It may be just he's just lucked out and he's not one that's been visible or been in enough camps. But I do think that he ends up being something. I think he ends up being one of those special players you're like, oh, yeah, you were way underrated. Thank goodness we snatched you up.
Yeah. You talk about him kind of like I'm excited about a 2025 recruit. And he actually was out at USC this past weekend, but it's Caden Knighton out of Wynnewood. That kid, if you want to look up statistics, that kid's got them all. He's got them all. But I think during the 2025 time, I think Caden Knighton will probably end up being he'll probably start the cycle as a 3-star, but I think he'll end it probably as a top 200 player in the country. He's just completely dynamic all over the board. If you haven't went and looked up his profile on Max Preps or on Huddle, you need to go look up some film and look up some stats on him. Caden Knighton.
I'm about to pull up his statistics right now because I'm definitely intrigued by what you just said.
Oklahoma's got a lot of good kids coming out this year out of Oklahoma in 2024 and 2025. Just I think in 2025 you got a quarterback at Edmond Memorial. I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Edmond Santa Fe's got a couple of guys. I think they have an offensive lineman that's going to be visiting Oklahoma. And then they also have the defensive lineman, Bergen Kaisar, as well this year. So Oklahoma's got some kids that are starting to pop up. Michael Patterson McDonald, obviously David Stone, who's not here, but he's from here. And then Zadavian Sims and Danny Okoye, who I know a lot of people love, but he's not going to be a Sooner. So that's why I don't really talk about him a whole lot.
Right. Right. No, you're right. And, who is this? I may mention Thomas talking about the current players. I plan on doing a live stream on Sunday going through position groups, and that'll be the focus outside of the visits that we know that's coming down to really talk about that. I'm going to start in the secondary and work my way down all the way to the last position being quarterback right before the spring game. So you go to my channel, I'll have the link up in preparation for it. But I think I'm definitely going to do something on Sunday to really go through the groups. And if PG's available, we're going to pull them in to join us because it's going to be fun. It'd be fun to talk about what those positions, what the depth chart looks like, and what we anticipate the transfers are going to do to take some of these positions, or if we got some current players that are going to make those transfers wait for their opportunity. But we're going to start DBs and work our way all the way up.
Yeah, the defensive line really intrigues me for Oklahoma this year, just because you do have a lot of good returning production there, like Isaiah Coe, Jonah Laulu is back, which, guys, at the end of the season, he was really starting to put it together, and I think he'll be pretty good. And then you've got Ethan Downs, Reggie Grimes. I'm totally blanking on one of the other kids. But Oklahoma's got a lot of production there. And then you've got Derek LeBlanc coming in, Marcus Strong. Those were guys that we were really excited for in this class. So, yeah, I'm really excited to do that breakdown and kind of really get a good overview of what this is going to look like. I think I'm going to do one after spring, after I go to the spring game and kind of get to see what a lot of these kids look like on the field and see who's probably the most ready. But Jim Bird is asking about Stacy Gage. So I actually am about to upload a video here pretty soon about Stacy Gage taking a visit to Boulder, Colorado. I know you guys are probably tired of me talking about the Buffs, but listen, they're just making noise on the recruiting trail. They're prioritizing Stacy Gage as their number one running back in this class.
Really intriguing.
And Stacy Gage has talked about how I don't know the running back's coach's name out there, but he has a good relationship with him. So he's going to be going out there for the spring game. And guys, Colorado is going to sell out their stadium if they haven't already for the spring game. I think they'd sold like 30,000 spring game tickets, which was more than they did in 7 years for Colorado. So in 1 year. So it's going to be a big recruiting weekend for them. They've got some big stuff lined up. And yeah, I wouldn't see Stacy Gage really. I could see him giving them a serious look. But ultimately, I still think that decision comes down as of right now between the Florida Gators and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Stacy Gage has a relationship with Lagway, who's the quarterback at Florida. And quite honestly, I just don't think Stacy Gage timeline is going to sync up with Oklahoma's, because here's the thing. You've seen a lot of 3-star guys come to Oklahoma over the past 2 junior days. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of those 3-star kids, regardless of their position, start to narrow down their decision with Oklahoma quickly, because there's also a lot of high profile 4 and 5-star kids, and they want to lock in their spot, like KJ Daniels at the wide receiver position. So I don't think Stacy Gate's timeline is going to sync up with a lot of these commitments. I think once you see the first 2 or 3 commitments drop for Oklahoma, it's just going to be a bloodbath. And they're just going to continue to pour in, because guys are going to start to try to lock up their positions as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, you're spot on with that. And I saw Stacy Gage had dropped a tweet about 5 days ago saying, hey, I didn't forget about y'all, Boomer Sooner. And I appreciate that with him. He's having fun with the recruiting process, and so he's probably a great interview. Saw the article this morning on him going to Colorado. The coach you're talking about is Gary Harrell. Coach Flea Harrell is the coach that he's pretty tight with. And Colorado is making some noise. I probably need to drop some video on that sometime tomorrow to talk about Gage going through. But yeah, there you go, Topher. It's Flea Harrell. So. But it's kind of intriguing with him is there's so many backs that we are really in the running for. DeMarco Murray is killing it on the trail. Like, we have legitimate interest. Like, Caden Durham is the other back that out of Duncansville that I think we're going to land him. I saw that we had a crystal ball on him from some, and it looks like that he's going to be the one that says, yeah, I'm definitely wants to be a Sooner, and I'd be stoked if we can get our hands on him. He's going to be really, really good. He'll be fat. He'll be your speed. You throw him out there, then you got lightning and thunder. And like I said, Zay running a 4.5, he'll be able to still be able to be a not only a wrecking ball, but he's almost impossible to take down at his size at this age. And so you bring him in 2 years, get him nice and just lean and still huge. Yeah, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I wonder where Stacy ends up. I know that he has had a strong relationship with Coach Murray. So, and I mean, I'm surprised that he hasn't attempted to commit, or he maybe has and we just don't know. But I think the timeline is the piece. And I'm kind of curious to what our coaches are telling players if they're really holding people back from committing right now, which, I mean, would make sense. Sometimes you want them to go out there and go. So, yeah, I like Gage's game. I'm just ready to see if he's going to be a big player for us long term.
Yeah, and when it comes to the running back room, I think a lot of players took notice of what DeMarco Murray did last year with true freshmen and Gavin Sawchuk, and the amount of time that Javonte Barnes got to play. I think they really took notice of that and took notice of year 2 of Eric Gray at Oklahoma. So we'll see what it looks like this year. And I don't think that just is solidified or isolated to the running back position. If Venables goes out there this season and uses PJ Adebayor a lot, he goes up and looks like one of the best freshmen in the country. Maybe that tries to sway some defensive linemen to want to come here because they see, oh, well, they're letting freshmen play, which is not something they've normally done, and they're balling out. So it's an open competition for every position every single year. I think that could sway a lot of recruits to potentially want to come here. Now, I do think as it's a little bit more established, you see the staff not start freshmen as much. But if the freshman's, good enough to play right away, I definitely see them potentially trying to stir up a little bit of momentum with those freshmen.
I think it's more of a, if you got the talent, they're willing to give you the opportunity. And if you can go out there and show the work ethic and you cook, like, I mean, the Adrian Peterson piece was probably the best. Like, I hate comparing anybody to Adrian Peterson. AD is AD, but at the same, I mean, as a freshman with established runners under the Stoops regime, Venables was on staff, and when he went out there and ran for 1,900 yards, they realized like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to play you as much as possible. And seeing Barnes get run with, in especially when Major went down with injuries, and Eric Gray improving from his first year here to this year, yeah, it probably put these players saying, hey, if I am talented, they're not going to hold me back because they don't talented. If I'm talented enough, they'll let me go out there and take the job, and I can go do it. So, and they see that with not only Coach Murray, they also see that with Jeff Levy's system, that it's also a very heavy run system. Wide receivers going to get their big plays and put up big numbers, but you really are going to see a lot from the running backs, and you got to have a stable of rotating backs. And I think we've got a loaded running back. I think that's why I'm going to do going from DBs down to quarterback, because that running back room is going to keep me busy probably for an hour by itself with all of the players that I know that's in that room. It's, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? This Sunday I might be able to hit up Kendall Dolby and see if he wants to join the show, maybe on that breakdown. So he's been wanting to come back on. I just haven't been able to make it work. So maybe look at that or something. But
okay, let me know.
Jay, hey, as we start to wrap up here, is there anything else you want to talk about from the Elite Junior Day?
I think the really big thing is, it's, of course, take everything said with a grain of salt of who's going to come or whatnot, but there's a reason to be excited, Sooner fans. There was a lot of players here. There were a lot of real players. When you go through all the pictures and stuff, I try to retweet most of them on my Twitter account at Unfair Sports so that people just can see the OU players. Those kids came through. They look. All of them, a lot of them had those great words of, man, this was pretty dope. Didn't realize Oklahoma did this. This is pretty awesome. I had a great time. This was a great visit. One of the best I've been on. Uncommon hospitality. You hear a lot of this stuff, and it's something to be proud of and recognize that, yeah, we are a first class program, institution, grade A, top of the top. And all we're doing now is, and as it was mentioned in the comments before, we really are putting an emphasis on the key positions that's needed to be successful. You got to have a quarterback. You got to have a line to protect them. You got to have a defensive line to go get their quarterback. And we're focusing on all of those mainly. Somebody mentioned about offensive line. We've got a lot of offensive linemen that we had. We have 4 big name ones there that looked pretty good. And you mentioned, PG, to me. We were texting back and forth about it, about some of those players. Like, yeah, actually, you were on my live stream when we were talking about it. You're like, yeah, I think we can probably land a couple of them, if not 3. And if we can get some of those big name offensive linemen to go with those D linemen, oh my goodness.
I think you're probably going to look at 4 or 5.
We'll have the foundation. That's all you need. And then even look at transfers. That's the only thing that's great and bad about the transfer portal is you're probably going to pick up some play. You may lose 1 or 2 here, but you're probably going to pick up some really good ones that can come in and start immediately and fill holes that you may have. And so, yeah, the foundation is being laid. By the time we go to the SEC, we'll have 3 classes, and it'll be 3 top 10 classes, potentially 2 of them being top 5. And, yeah, we're going to be probably pretty dangerous going forward.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all, this was just a little bit shorter of a conversation and of a live video, but I've got dinner tonight. I've got a little dinner plans with the future wifey, so gonna go get a good old steak and maybe have myself a good glass of wine tonight. But Jay, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, and certainly tell them where they can find you on Sunday, because that's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, hit me up, Unfair Sports. Search for me on YouTube. That's where I'll be. The live stream, the plan is going to be Sunday, 6 p.m. Right now, that's what I have locked and loaded. If PG's around, he'll have the link and he'll pop in either as a viewer or he'll be in as a co-host to join. We're going to talk about the DBs. I think I'm going to do another position group. I haven't decided how I want to break it down. If it's going to be all DBs, like safeties and corners. If I want to just bundle them all together, because I feel like a lot of those players are interchangeable. We may throw linebackers in there. I don't know. But I'll say this. The link, just look at the community post. I'll have a post in there with the link, time, and all of that jazz. But I'm expecting 6 p.m. on Sunday for about an hour of talking positions. So PG, as usual, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh no, appreciate you coming on. And listen, I'll probably go live Saturday evening. I don't know. Y'all just pay attention. I like to drop these at random, and y'all go out and hey, y'all do a really good job at showing up. So,
Yeah, we appreciate that.
yeah, you know what? It'll probably be a whatever you guys want Saturday. We'll just talk about whatever you guys want to. So definitely hop in the comments during that one and come ready with questions, and we will try to answer those as much as possible. But until next time, we will see y'all later. Now we get the
Peace.
spinning wheel of death.